All right, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Three League OGs. I'm your moderator, Ashley Stroehlein. Of course, I'm joined by all three of my co-hosts today, Charles Oakley, Muggsy Bogues, and Earl Cureton. How you guys doing? Glad to see everybody.
Great.
Hey, how you doing?
It's been a couple of weeks. Glad we can get back together.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a few hot topics before we bring on our guest for today. Of course, we just witnessed Tom Brady win Super Bowl number 7. Just your thoughts on that and everything he's been able to do in football. And of course, a lot of people on social media want to compare him and MJ, two different sports, but just your thoughts on what they both did in each of their respective sports.
Well, I was kind of surprised. I knew you can't count Tom Brady out. That's for sure. You know for sure he's going to be there, but I expected a little bit more out of Kansas City, in that game. And it didn't happen. I mean, he put him away. You could see early that he was going to dominate. And that's pretty much what he did. I mean, winning 7 Super Bowls, that's incredible. I mean, that puts him all the way at the top right there. We know MJ's got the 6, and he's definitely the GOAT for football. There's no question about that with 7 championships. You can't question it. It seems like he's going to continue to keep going. I mean, the way he's approaching the game and the way he look like he's got some years left. It's not over, with just this Super Bowl. He's going to be back again. And I don't know how many more years, but it looks like he got some years left in him.
My thing, I was expecting a great game. Both teams scored in the 30s. I think Kansas City, they left their game in Kansas City. The plane landed, but they went on the plane. And I think the experience with Tom Brady, how he galvanized that team all year, telling guys, bringing guys aboard, listen, when you listen to someone who's been great, and it shows that he can lead and he can produce at the best time ever in the Super Bowl. He's 7 for 10, LeBron 4 for 10. I mean, these guys, what they have done with their team, not just with basketball, football, but how they get pieces and make pieces work. A lot of people, I need a piece for the run for the championship. I need this and that. But when you get that piece, like Tom Brady did, like LeBron do in basketball, like they won, the championship in the bubble. Tom Brady's first year with Tampa, same thing with Kawhi Leonard did in Toronto. First year, it's just you got to have a humble player, number one. A humble player, and he showed by his example every day in practice, what he do on the field and lead. You don't have to be hollering at people every time they make a mistake, but just go talk to them in a nice way. Kawhi Leonard do that. Tom Brady sometimes let you know how he feel in that moment, but at the end of the day, like Tyrann Matthew, he came back and apologized for them getting into it during the game. But show you he's a great sports guy. He's a great guy, family guy. And what else can you say? He got 7. I mean, Bill Russell got 11. MJ got 6. He got 7. Robert Horry got 8. So, hey, Tom Brady got to catch Robert Horry now. Pass MJ up.
It's amazing to see him, at this stage in his career to go to another team, to take another team to that pinnacle, which is the ultimate to win the Super Bowl. I mean, as Oak and Earl just alluded to, his leadership is just, it's affectionate. Him seeing the vision of what he need in terms of to making his team successful, bringing in a guy like AB, Antonio Brown, bringing Grunt back in out of retirement. But I think it goes to the coaching staff, understanding what they have underneath of that, in their organization, which is a winner night in, night out, and gave him the ball and say, go win us, take us where you want us to go. And I think they got out the way and allowed him to do what he do. And as they say, man, he got 7. He's been there, 9, 10 times. That's remarkable. Somebody haven't even been there one time, myself, so it's amazing to see a guy that's been there that many times and been successful.
Well, we definitely know who the man is now, and looking at New England, there's no question about that. The man left the building in New England. He's in Tampa right now. So, his teammates speak so highly of him.
Stop doing the bandwagon. Hey, it ain't no band without somebody, the music, the producer or somebody. Hey, the band started a long time ago, so I know everybody wants to throw Belichick on the bus, but you think about in the Super Bowl with Tom Brady, it was the first time they ever scored a touchdown in the first quarter. And, you've been in 10 Super Bowls. It's the first time only time you scored a touchdown in the first quarter and you won 7. That's saying a lot right there. And most time the last one he won was 13-10. So it had to be defense. Really defense won beat Kansas City because my homeboy, he was trying to get a ride somewhere, not Kansas City, but he was trying to get a ride out of Tampa because when they were coming at him.
Yeah,
he wasn't completely healthy either, to his credit. Yeah, turf toe is no.
Your toes be hurting you while your shoes go out. It hurt that bad.
Hey, wait a minute. The turf toe. You had turf toe before. You know what that feel like?
I ain't never had turf toe. I don't play football. That's what I'm saying. You get turf toe. But like I said, if his toe was hurting, he should have stayed in Kansas City because couple of the linemen did. They ain't want none of that heat on the other side. Tampa Bay. You had Pierre Paul, you had Sue, and you had Barrett. Hey, they look like the old Chicago Bears back in '85. That's how they looked on them. And they put the same thing when the Bears beat New England. The same way they look. You know, just bad. Offensive linemen look like they first day they played football. But you have to be prepared. But Kansas City wasn't prepared for me. For a team that last year and come out the way they hit all them penalties, distractions, and just their own teammate, you know, just. It was a letdown. And the Reed didn't adjust at halftime.
Come on, man. Don't throw Reed under the bus now. Come on.
I'm throwing him over under the bus if he gets sit up on the wing. Hey, the bus alone, if it's a low rider, he can't get up under him because he kind of big.
All right, welcoming our guest today, Candace Parker. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm hanging out with these three guys, so I'm glad you're here to help me keep them in line. It's usually me and all guys. So, well, before O gets too far left here, we're going to start with some fan questions. We always ask everyone to use the hashtag 3LeagueOGs. Obviously, the first one going to go to you, Candace. Fans want to know, when did you first learn that you had the ability to dunk? What's your first memory of dunking?
Wow. I've had like a mini hoop in my house ever since I can remember. And I used to go in there and just slam it. Like when I was 3-4 years old. And my brothers are a lot older than I am. So I watched them and my whole dream was just to dunk before they dunked when they were my age. So my brothers both dunked at 15, 16. And so at 13 years old, I was like, okay, I'm going to dunk. I'm going to dunk. So went to a volleyball and then finally got a basketball down, and my whole thing was just dunking before my brothers did.
Yeah, I can remember. I can relate. I remember the film. You know,
really was.
Yeah, with a little small Nerf ball being in the dunk. Yeah. That was the first thing I wanted to do. But that's awesome to hear that. You know, growing up in Chicago, you know, what really got you into the game of basketball? You know, as a female, you know, not knowing that that's something that it's something to really gravitate, you know, towards. I don't know if it was somebody that's out there that kind of you looked upon that kind of emulated that you say, I want to do that. But is there anyone that's out there that made you decide you wanted to get into the game of basketball?
Honestly, I've been a student of the game long before I had decided that I wanted to play. My dad, my brothers, my mom, we played basketball on Saturdays. We went to the park. It was always on television. Like you said, growing up in the Chicagoland area, the Bulls were huge and influential in my development just as a player. I started off playing soccer because I wanted to be different than my brothers. They were so good at basketball. And so I wanted my own thing. And then I grew and my parents were like, probably not going to be able to play soccer. And so right along that time, I started falling in love with basketball. And I would say just honestly, I grew up watching the Bulls. So Ron Harper was my favorite player on the team. Jordan. Everybody's like, what? But yeah, Jordan, obviously, BJ Armstrong with my parents both went to Iowa. So that tie followed his career. So honestly, it was probably around that time that I started liking basketball, about probably 5th or 6th grade.
Well, you missed me in Chicago. It's okay though.
So you mentioned Oakley.
They got rid of me. I was, you know, I didn't, you know, always sit in the front of the class with Doug.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Stop it.
He turned to me. He couldn't handle that conversation I could give to him.
Yeah, because Oak, you left in 87? 88. Okay.
Yeah, I left in 88. They got rid of me.
Yeah, some good years up there.
Well, sticking with Chicago, obviously, Candace, you just made the decision to return home. You're going to be playing there next season, but how hard was it for you to leave Los Angeles and then make the decision to start the next chapter of your career in Chicago?
Honestly, coming out of college, I'll just admit, Chicago had one of the top picks. And when the lottery happened, I was hoping LA got the first pick. Just because I think at 18 years old, 22 years old, you're ready to go away from home. You're ready to experience life on your own. And I never thought that I would return home. And then this year, it just kind of came about with COVID and everything like that. My grandma, my parents still live in Chicago, my friends, my family. And just Chicagoland has always embraced me. Like everywhere I go, you know, I feel as though like there's so much love in Chicago. And so with that being said, it was just a chance to go back home, play for a great team. I know the coach extremely well. And I'm just excited to be returning, honestly. I think it's kind of nostalgic a little bit, like to be going back and like think my daughter can be playing on some of the same courts that I played on as a kid. So.
Yeah, I'm just curious as to, you know, going over your resume is so impressive. You've done so many, there's nothing you haven't done in basketball. It's just, you know, it's just incredible, you know, all the things that you accomplished, you know, throughout the years and everywhere you went. You know, I had a chance, I followed you, you know, throughout your career. I saw you in college, and when me and Muggs was down in the WNBA, I was just scouting games when you were there. But your versatility is the most impressive thing about you. Now, where did you pick the versatility from your brothers? The ability to be able to handle, to be able to block shots, to rebound. You play multiple positions. Did that all start at the beginning, or where did all that come from?
Honestly, my dad. I think my soccer skills have helped me just in my versatility as well. Playing soccer for as long as I did. But honestly, my grandma is 5'5". So I was really tall all my life. I've always been the tallest kid in the class. And my dad's like, what if you stop growing? So on our YBA team, I was the tallest thing out there playing point guard. Like he refused to let me, you know, he refused to let me just stand by the basket and make layups. And so honestly, at the time, people looked at him crazy, but he knew what he was doing. I mean, my heroes looking up, obviously, Muggsy, your handles, your speed, your quickness, all that. Like Allen Iverson was one of the people that I tried to emulate and would go in the driveway and try to like do crossovers and things like that. So I always gravitated towards like what people said I couldn't do or what people said you shouldn't do. And, you know, it's kind of like two different kids. My brother's the oldest, played 10 years in the NBA, shooter. My dad was out there for hours with him, like mastering his shot. I was in the driveway doing and one mixtape. Like I was in the driveway trying to do all that stuff, bouncing off my elbow. So that was just me. And I think it fit my personality. And honestly, I think that's where the game is going. And I'm so thankful that, you know, my dad was like, no, like you're not going to just, you know, stand on the block. So it makes it more fun.
Well, I got a question. How do it feel in the studio with all the ball players, and then you taller than some of them, and you know, and how do you feel like, you know, like, okay, I see you on the court, and I see you in here as being a female. You know, I think you can hold your own. You know, it's like you say, all schools like make it, take it. I think if you get it, you're gonna make 2 or 3. And just I see that, you know, you play with all female, but I think that you can hold your own against some guys. I always said that in the NBA today, it's at least if it's 30 team, it should be a female on every other team. Because that's how I feel about the guys' game is so weak now. And I know that y'all always, you know, get left out, like, you know, like y'all can't play with us. We too strong and too big. Sometimes it's a mental thing. How you feel about that?
Well, in the studio now, everybody is out of shape and doesn't play basketball.
So you like your chance against them? Some of them?
Say it again.
Do you like your chance against some of them guys? Did you play 1-on-1? Or they just try to foul you because you?
I mean, I think that, you know, in terms of Steve Smith, I'm attacking low. You know, I got a lot of guys. There's not a lot of defense. You know, I think in terms of, you know, when you're working as an analyst, there's not a lot of like defensive-minded guys that are going to be on studio. So I honestly definitely think it would be a high-scoring game. We would all get buckets. But at the same time, I think for me personally, I've always more so shared like the mentality. Like I absolutely eat, sleep, breathe basketball. And so I really enjoy watching different types. And I think as a female basketball player, I want people to respect the different types of basketball that are being played. Just like overseas is not played in the same way the NBA is.
Right.
WNBA is not played. Muggsy, you both know, like it's not played in the same way. But there's a pure form about it. There's a interest to it. There's things that you can fall in love with once you watch it. And so for me, it's more so, the people that don't watch the WNBA than saying things about it. All I'm saying is just watch it. And I think the level of play is elevating every single year.
Oh,
and,
no doubt.
We're 25 years young. And I'd honestly say, I think it's going to happen. I think there is going to be a woman that does play. I think the type of player you have to be has to be that Cappy Pondexter, strong, sturdy build, can shoot, and grew up playing with guys. That's what we did in, Naperville, where I'm from, and Chicago, where she's from. Like, you grew up playing against guys in pickup, and so you find ways to kind of match their physicality.
Since we talking about the WNBA, seeing, of course, the growth of it now, especially what's being talked about so much, especially with the new administration, talking about fairness, about women, equality, and so forth. Where the salaries back when me and Earl was back in the league coaching the WNBA, of course, the salaries were, the first pick was making 41,000, which was crazy, and the top salary was only 100. Now I see over the years, a lot of things has been geared toward the collective bargaining. We're trying to force more equality in terms of that regard with the salaries. I think it's been a bump now where the salaries at maybe the max is at 217 or 2 something. I don't know for sure, but the average maybe it kind of bumped up. Speak a little bit about that in terms of the growth of the league, where it was when you first came in and where it is today.
The WNBA has gone through so many steps forward with a step back. And, everybody looks at the NBA as a finished product, in a finished product form. And they forget in the early 90s, late 80s, like the NBA playoffs were on tape delay. Like, I remember recording some of the NBA finals, or not finals, but like early playoff rounds were on tape delay. And so I think you look and try to compare the WNBA to the NBA, and it's so different. I mean, we're 25 years young. We made a lot of strides in this last CBA in terms of just taking care of moms, treating us like professionals, staying at nice hotels, the player quality of life to make you feel like a professional. But I'm going to say this, I made my living overseas. I went overseas for the first 10 years of my career. I played all year round. I went to Russia, and that's how I feed my daughter and how I'm able to live the lifestyle that I live. The WNBA was a summer job for me. And I think a lot of athletes up until this point have looked at it that way. Now, the huge growth that we've had in terms of doubling the salary from the last CBA to this CBA, upping the player quality of life, I think we're making a lot of strides, but there's so much farther that we need to go. I think visibility is huge. We've seen this summer how when we're able to be visible, people watch. Our ratings we were one of the first or the only major sports during COVID for our ratings to go up. And a lot of that has to do with the activism and, just our platform and being in the communities and people getting to know us. So I think social media, more information, our stories, I think that's helping with growing the women's game for sure.
I think watching y'all game, it's a lot of stuff y'all do a lot different in NBA, and it looks so good on TV, especially like moving the ball, pick and roll, making your free throws, cutting to the basket. NBA is just a stand around game now. And I think y'all, and plus NBA, you only got maybe 1 or 2 good players on the team. On the WNBA, everybody can play on the court. That make a difference too. Smarts, IQ. In the NBA, IQ is probably the lowest ever right now. Because all they want to do is shoot threes and they want to shoot free throws. I'm going to the basket and get fouled, but can't make a free throw. So I'm just, not because you're here. I mean, I come from the heart. And I watch a lot of games. Because NBA, the first 5 minutes, when you see 4 or 5 air balls, 6, 7 turnovers, it's a turnover. I played this game. You watch it. When you're in the studio, you see this too. And it ain't like I'm just saying it because I'm talking to you now. It's just NBA is hard to watch. And, I'm glad y'all do come on to something because, hey, you can watch a game, you can sit back, it's going to be a close game, ain't a lot of blowouts. And it's something like your mom, you got sisters, you got aunts, and like they probably should have did this in their era, but it wasn't there. But it's a chance for y'all to show the world that, hey, you put us on TV, you pay us fair, you can get your money worth. And that's what happened every night. Y'all always have good games. You got to worry about nobody fighting. You got to worry about guys complaining about calls all night.
I watch more WNBA games because sometimes we.
Right now.
I've seen the fights now.
It ain't like what we used to do in the 90s. I'm about y'all ain't like pulling the hair out and throwing water balls at one another.
I was at the game. I was at the game in Detroit. Candace, remember that game with Lynette Pearson and that team when a big fight broke out and benches cleared and.
Yeah, anytime you get Bill Laimbeer and Michael Cooper, like you.
Oh yeah, that's that Lakers thing, Lakers Detroit thing.
LA Detroit, you knew how that was gonna go. But the funniest thing was now, like my nieces, my nephews, and my daughter like pull up YouTube clips of my fight, and they hilarious. Like they add it to the chat, and if I say something to Layla, she'll like pull up a YouTube clip of me doing it. Like basketball, like talking to the refs is a big thing, and I'm like, leave them alone. So the whole time in the bubble, she's like, Mom, stop talking to the refs. Stop talking to the refs.
That's amazing. See that, and that's what the men doesn't have to pretty much always deal with, because it's a motherly, mother instinct that comes with the game, and that's why, talking with Vince and Cash, we had the opportunity. We was on the panel and just talking about how much the women really, brings to the game, how much they really not being respected enough in terms of what that lead also means. Sometimes I think you get that negative stereotype where they just want to label it in a way where, it gives them just, more of a lesbian type of situation where, me as a coach, I saw so much of just individual, you got moms, you got wives, you got people that have responsibility each and every day that comes on to take on a craft what they truly love, that does it so elegantly and professionally, and for me, I got the opportunity to see them work on a day-to-day basis. The fundamental aspects of the game is so important, and I saw the creativity and saw the athleticism of, here it is, we have yourself dunking. I mean, Nolan, boy, she could jump. I mean, she had like elevation of a jump shot. Yeah.
Deanna Nolan on that curl was
my goodness.
almost like a Rip Hamilton. Like everybody talked about Rip Hamilton coming off that curl. It was like,
And how high she got off the floor.
She was exciting. Yeah.
She elevated. And I think just to add to what you're saying, similar to how you all, the reason why the NBA is the way it is today, and they're reaping the benefits from what y'all did. And so I think we're kind of in a different situation where like, that's how I'm viewing this. Like my daughter is going to have the opportunity, regardless of whether she wants to play professionally, my niece, whatever, they're going to have an opportunity to play in a league that we fought really hard to make and to ensure that they were treated fairly and paid and respected. And so I think we're building those building blocks, and I don't take lightly, like, being a pioneer, it's not always fun and easy and things like that. But at the end of the day, like, you're making a difference. It might not be personally, but you're making a difference for the future. And so I think similar to how you all laid the groundwork for the way that the NBA players are treated and looked at today, we're trying to do that now.
Just wish the word could get out more. Like I spent 4 years in the WNBA. I do camps with the girls and all that kind of stuff. And the first question I ask these high school girls, and do you watch the WNBA? And there's so many of them that don't even watch the WNBA. I start naming players they don't know. And I think they got to get, we got to find some way to get them more in tune what's going on with the game in the WNBA. Because, like Oakley says, it's fun to watch. The difference is that the women's game is more fundamentally sound. A lot of them don't have the athleticism to jump and dunk and do all of that stuff, but they run plays to a T. They execute to a T. they pick up things a lot faster. And when you watch it, you see a complete basketball game. And that's what you don't see in the NBA because it's became more one-on-one, isolated type situations. And the WNBA is more of a team game where girls are working together and doing things together. And I think that's due to the fact that they don't do all of the crazy stuff that guys do, but they play the game the right way.
Yes, I agree. I mean, I'm going to have to say I work out with a lot of NBA players. They are extremely skilled and extremely talented. Some of them, the top guys, obviously. In terms of the difference in the leagues, I would say there's no place for somebody that is just hella athletic and just jumps and can't do anything else. Because you're not throwing lobs, and they're not getting behind the defense and throwing lobs and just beating you off of just straight athleticism. Whereas in the NBA, you pair athleticism up with a skilled guard because the defense is going to make a mistake. And so I feel like that's the major difference. And then also just to add game experience, I think the NBA now has moved into a corporate type of fan base. Whereas at the WNBA game, it's families. It's the DJ going crazy, playing club music. It's, the mascot running around. Like that's the environment that I grew up with watching the Chicago Bulls. It was more family. Like it was more people cheering for their team and almost like that, Oklahoma City type of crowd where it was just, families coming together, really, betting on the team and rooting for the team and all that stuff. And so now it's kind of moved into that corporate, corporate mentality, which is great. And that's the NBA's success. But at the end of the day, like the WNBA, if you come just in terms of in-game experience, fan experience, there's been a lot of people that have really enjoyed it.
Yeah, two different products, as you said. Yeah.
Go ahead, man. The NBA they gonna go where the money is. They don't care what you say. They're going straight corporate. See, you're right about that. The global corporate world now. That's where the money at. So hey, the players they're getting the benefit from it because, like I said, I'm gonna keep saying 80% of the players overpaid. So there you go, corporate world.
So true.
Yeah, and it's two different products. Right now that one's the superior to the other because of the TV package. Once you get a TV package, then you're able to explore a lot more. And I think once the WNBA able to secure that type of sponsorship, then you'll see that thing take to a whole new level.
Question I got is you played in Russia. You talked about that's where you made most of your money, and I heard a lot of stories about that. How was it playing over there in Russia? I know Tarasi and all those girls were all on one team over there at one point. They had some super teams over there, and I know the team you had was pretty good over there. What was the experience like being over there? I know your daughter was there with you, and I went to school and everything over there, but how was that for you going through those years playing over there?
When I first got the offer, I remember I was in the 2008 Olympics. My agent brought the offer to play for Ekaterinburg, which is basically in the Ural Mountains, and it borders Europe and the Asia side. So it's cold. And I was a little apprehensive just because I just had my daughter and, I didn't know if I wanted to take her across the world. But she was 5 months. We got on a plane, went to Ekaterinburg, Russia to play for one of the best clubs in Europe. Honestly, it's the best club in Europe. And we really made a concerted effort to get into the culture. And so we had, we tried their food. Like I said, my daughter went to their school. We met so many different people. And honestly, it was a great experience for me just because, we had chefs, we had drivers, we flew charter. Like they treated us the best. They gave the best Christmas gifts. We had the best parties. Like it was a great experience. I played over there for 6 years. We won a lot of games, but I think the experience in itself of getting into the culture and realizing like these people are staring at you because they've never seen anybody like you, not because they don't like you. And I think just going in, everybody had all these things to say about Russia and like, they don't like Americans, they don't like you, whatever. And I went over there, it was a whole different experience because people are people. And so my daughter, honestly, like for the 6 years we lived there, she called that home. That was like the place that we were at the most. And honestly, I really enjoyed my experience going over there.
Well, you mentioned your daughter, and I was looking through some of your Instagram posts and kind of going back to your first season or playing in the Olympics. You were actually pregnant with her, and you're like, we went through all of these things together, and some of the videos I was watching from when she was a little girl to where you guys are now doing TikToks together. But just what has it been like to have her with you through all of your career? And also, how do you balance being a mom and also your career?
Honestly, first and foremost, I want to say I am so blessed that Layla picked me to be her mom, because honestly, I don't know if there's another kid that could do, I mean, she just adjusts. Like, we going to Russia tomorrow? Cool. We're spending Christmas in China? Cool. Like, we're going here on this trip. Like, she's better to travel with than most adults. Like, she gets her apple juice on the plane, she chills, and this is from like a young age. So honestly, it's her. But for me personally, looking back at 23, I had her right after my rookie season. I didn't know I was pregnant with her when I received the MVP and Rookie of the Year. And so I say she got that award. Gold medal, same thing. And we've just grown up together, honestly. And I don't know any different. This is just, we always have to figure it out and balance. And honestly, I'm one of those people that when you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to make sure I 100% can. And I remember when I had her, they were like, your career is not going to be the same. You can't have family and career. Like, it just doesn't work that way. I was like, all right, bet. So it made Michael Cooper, Muggsy, you guys will appreciate this. It made Michael Cooper a little uncomfortable because I nursed my daughter for 15 months. I was adamant about nursing her. So we'd be at time and I'd be like, Coop, I'm sorry. Like, she's got a nurse. And so I'd make it over. I'd be sitting there and he'd be talking about the play we're going to run. And I'd be like, hold on, got to switch. Like, and so it was just like, it just became natural. And honestly, like, it's her. Like, we have such a great relationship and we've grown up together and we've gone through things together and we make decisions together. And we sacrifice for each other. I think that's the biggest thing is like, it was really hard for me to take her out of school every year to go overseas. Like, it was really hard for me. And she got to be 10 and we made the decision to stop playing overseas. Like, she needed to have her thing, go to her school, be in America. And so that was a decision we made together. And, she's very like the Chicago thing, she was like, Mom, listen, I'm wearing the LA Sparks jersey when you guys play them. I'm just telling you. Like, he's gonna wear the LA Sparks jersey in LA. I'm like, hey, that's fine. But we make decisions together, and honestly, like, we've grown up together.
That's awesome.
That's very special to have.
That is awesome. I mean, just to hear about you talking about winning the Rookie of the Year. I mean, you was able to in high school win the Player of the Year back to back. And then you win the Player of the Year and the Rookie Year in the same season. Who does that? I mean, who has that type of accolades? I mean, where's the mindset in terms of where you get to the point to allow you to keep these accolades, continue to keep building up for yourself?
I just always, I don't know. I think it was set from when I was younger. Like, even though, you might be thinking you've done everything or you've accomplished everything, there's always still more that you can do. And honestly, it's been the obstacles, I think, that have pushed me to be good in terms of just like my injuries I've had. I tore my ACL when I was in high school, going into college. And just, I think it's those expectations. Like, nobody has higher expectations for me than me. And I think my dad and my mom kind of established that at an early age is like, you set goals and then you set the plan to how you're going to achieve those goals. And, I think the best advice I ever got was from Coach Summit, because usually in your mind, what you're supposed to do and you tell yourself what you're supposed to do. But then when it comes time to doing it, you kind of delay it or you put it off or you procrastinate or whatever. So when you set something and you make a promise to yourself, you act like a trainer's waiting for you there. Like, if you're working out by yourself or you say you're going to do this, you act like you hold yourself accountable. And that's what I try to do. And, it's worked out well in terms of coming back from injuries and being able to come back from things that people said that, it wasn't possible. So I think that's the biggest thing that I try to live by.
I know I was so happy when you won the WNBA championship in 2016. I couldn't understand how in the world you ever got left off that Olympic team, the way you handled yourself with that situation. I was pissed. I know you had to be really pissed. There's no way in the world you shouldn't have been on that Olympic team, but you came back so strong and won a WNBA championship and got the MVP of it that year. What kind of feeling was that for you? Was that a feeling of redemption behind all of that stuff that happened? Because I don't know, to this day, I don't think anybody can ever figure out how you got left off an Olympic team.
In 2016, it was a tough year. I was left off the Olympic team. My coach passed away, and I was battling through like knee injuries. I'm not out there with like my injuries and my struggles, and so I think I was just struggling a little bit. I was going through a separation, just everything. And so honestly, I feel like I'm better when my back's against the wall, and so that's kind of how I approach that. That's somebody's opinion. Obviously, I think it's crazy. There's a lot of people that think it's crazy. It is what it is. I do want to say, though, that I think along with the growth of the women's game, there has to be a level of, you have to look at the NBA and you have to look at the way that the men are treated. And to me, if I was a man, there's no way that would happen. And so I think my purpose now is just to kind of like continue to talk about it and us realize like certain things that we have, like blind bias going into situations and the way that we treat people within women's basketball and the way we treat ourselves. It's not just people outside women's basketball, it's like inside women's basketball too. And so I think just taking that messaging and just trying to continue to like build, and then obviously winning the championship was a huge plus. So I think that kind of helped me get through that year a little better.
I got so many questions. The one thing I laughed at is the story about your father. When you didn't work hard at the playgrounds, he would leave you and you have to run home. Yeah. And then you said you started finding playgrounds that was closer.
Legit, I could still see his face. He would look at me and he'd hit the ball and he'd look at his watch and he'd be like, "You have 15 minutes to be home." And he'd get in his car, tilt his head. But honestly, I grew up watching him leave my brothers at parks. And I remember being like, can't wait till he leaves me at a park. Like, I remember just watching him after games when he would like chew them out after games. And I couldn't wait for that to be me, And so, strength shoes. My brothers had strength shoes growing up, which I'm sure that those hurt people's knees because my knees, I think, because I wore string shoes all the time. But yeah, I remember like trying to fit, I was like a size 9 shoe and I was trying to fit my brother's size 14 just because I wanted to be like, I wanted to run and work out like them and stuff like that. So I really loved it. It's a great story. We used to joke and call him like the Joe Jackson of, but honestly, it's built me. And I think it has allowed me to like do things that I wouldn't have ordinarily done because of the toughness that goes along with that. So I love my dad and, we have a great time with stories. I'll tell you this, and you guys will laugh at this because you guys know how the locker room is. So my dad is the type that like, if my brother had a bad game, we would all be sitting eating breakfast on like Saturday or Sunday morning. My brother had a bad game the night before. And he would just get up and start looking through cupboards. Like he would just start looking through cabinets and we'd have a friend over and our friend we know what my dad's doing, but the friend wouldn't know. So they'd be like, "Mr. Parker, like, what are you doing?" And he'd be like, "Looking for Anthony's jump shot." That's the family that I grew up in. So, honestly, it has helped me in basketball, but it's more so helped me like even connect in the studio with other guys because I can take it. Like I can dish it out. I can take it. I don't mind laughing at myself. And I think that comes from my family.
Another question I have, when I was doing my research and videos were coming up, one that popped up that was pretty popular was Kobe just coming by the facility and working with you all on shooting and that kind of stuff. So I'm just kind of curious about your relationship with him and also to kind of see, once he retired, everything he was doing for women's basketball and women's sports.
I'll say it forever, especially like the last 4 years, he was WNBA. He was all day. He attended more WNBA games than he did NBA games. And a lot of that had to do with his passion for women's sports, but also his daughter. Gigi was so talented. honestly, like if you look at her footwork, I mean, you just spoke about just IQ and ability. Like she was a more fierce Kobe, honestly. Her footwork, we laugh, and I know Diana Taurasi said this at their celebration of life, but like she had a better turnaround footwork than LeBron. Like she got low on her little turnaround. She went over her left shoulder, faded. But that took time, energy, and work. And I think that's what I take from Kobe in our workouts, and just you put the work in. And the biggest conversation, I think, since I've gotten here in 2008, like him and I have always text back and forth and connected and talked on the phone, and he'd reach out when it was a big playoff game or he would come support. But the biggest thing for me was I remember watching a game he played, and he was like 7 for 26 or something like that. And then comes down and hits the game winner. And I always struggle because I don't like to miss. So when I'm missing, I'm like, man, I could do other things. I'm gonna pass. I'm gonna get to the basket. I'm gonna try to get free throws. I don't consistently stay with my teaching. So I asked him one day, I was like, hey, Kobe, like, how do you have the will to take that shot? Like you just missed, like, you missed like 20 something shots and you just came down and hit the game winner. Like, he was like, I've put in so much work that percentage wise, the next shot has to go in. So like, that's his mentality. And I think just from hearing that, it helped me in my career, because a lot of it is just sticking to what you've known and putting in the time and effort and living with the result. And there's sometimes you're going to shoot air balls and sometimes you're going to hit the game winner. But if you don't believe in yourself, you're going to shoot more air balls than game winners. And so I think just that relationship, seeing how much he builds his house, just footwork wise, moves that he gets to, he can get to his spots, really helped me in my development of my game.
That's what you don't see today in the NBA. Guys get to their spots. I mean, guys to shoot a shot from anywhere. I mean, you know, it's just detailed. Like you say, Kobe, MJ, you know, LeBron, when he want to do something, he really go do it. Curry, you know, get to his spot.
I'll put KD in there. Got to put KD in there.
Oh, yeah. You know, well. I'm just saying, though, you know, 5 or 6 guys in the last 10 years that you can just, like, hey, that's why they 5 best players in the league. Because they do it night in, they show it on the court, they show you in game situations, and they show you they got the championships. So I'm talking about the last 5 or 6 years, you got to be talking about LeBron, KD, Curry, you know, them guys, Kawhi Leonard, you know, he's a new guy in the bunch.
Just say KD. Just say KD.
That ain't one of his guys.
I love him. You know, what he doing? Coming back, what he doing this year? I mean, come on. But nah, it's just, hey, you got to know your craft and do it over and over. That's why them guys great. I mean, not just good, you know, them the 5 probably the best guys in the NBA hand down. So, and what you saying, what Kobe did, I mean, I was around Kobe a couple of times, and you know, he was trying to do music and play basketball with Steve Stout. And I was in the studio and, you know, a couple of days in New Jersey over Steve's house, and he was just asking me some questions about MJ. And I told him, like, what you doing is like going from the studio to the weight room. MJ was doing this. MJ is one of the hardest working guys that, you know, play this position or play basketball, period. Because when he practices, it's like a game situation. It's never like practice. So that's why when it comes to the court, it gets so easy. I tell everybody, you know, and Kobe had, like you said, Kobe had that mindset. His daughter had, you know, he instilled that into her at a young age. So think about she would have made it to 15 or 16. I mean, she'd probably been, you know, just Kobe, like, you'd be like, wow, you're seeing 2 Kobe at all times.
It's, you know, I think that the next development, because I grew up around guys. Like, that's how I learned basketball. So I would say there is probably a number of assholes on every team with dudes, and that's just expected. That's just the way they are. That's how they operate. I mean, you talk about Jordan, his mentality. Kobe wasn't always nice. Like, you talk about just everybody. In women's basketball, we're still getting to that point where it's okay, you know, because everything is so nice. So I would say, like, in terms of having that confidence, it's okay now to be a woman and play basketball and know that you're good because you put the time in. And so I think you saw that in Gigi, where she knew she was good. Like, she came down and knew she put in the work. So you had the ability to like act that way or, you know, take those shots. And so I think, you know, women's basketball is getting there, and obviously it's learning from the NBA, but a lot of it is getting past the social norms of what women are supposed to, how they're supposed to act and how they're supposed to behave. Like, listen, we're competitive. We got in this huge fight about technicals, because there was a year I got like 6 technicals. And I'm like, I'm looking at Steph Curry throw his mouthpiece, and you guys are not backing him up. And I go like this away from you, and I get a tech. Can you please make it make sense? Like, I'm emotional. I want to win more than anybody, regardless of what my gender is. So treat it that way, because fans aren't going to want to watch people like not touch people and like not get physical, and like nobody wants to watch no competition. Like, that's the part of the game. And so I think just in terms of like seeing this next generation of girls that are like doing like this and being cocky with it, like, I think it's great because they're playing with confidence because they put the work in.
Now, what's your next step now? You're going to Chicago, 13 years. I mean, you look to improve your game every single year. I mean, the rebounding thing, I mean, Pat, she still told you that what win championships is rebounding. You know, you led the league in rebounding. I mean, which is incredible. They got one video out with you just blocking shots. I mean, blocking like 25, 30 shots in a row. So now moving forward, going to Chicago, I know you got an agenda. You're not just going to Chicago to be going to Chicago. So.
Well, we're playing with one of the best point guards in the WNBA. My goal going into the season, obviously, I shot the 39% last year. My goal is to have a 50, 40, 90 at one point in my career. And so, you know, I don't have too many more years left, so I got to do it soon. So my goal is 50, 40, 90. I want to be in the best shape I've ever been in my life. As you get older, you realize how good of a shape you could have been in when you were younger. And that means, you know, extra cardio. That means, you know, pushing through fatigue. And so I think this past off season, more so than just on the court, I focus on just being in great shape. Like, I want my body to be great. And I think with that, with the style of play, the way that we want to play fast and, you know, the weapons we have, I think that if I'm able to do that, I'm going to give my team a huge advantage, both on the defensive end and as well as, you know, going downhill offensively.
So can we see this Tom Brady, Kawhi Leonard, and you come to Chicago, put him on your back, and take him to the big dance? Can we expect that?
In that 1 year.
Can we expect that? The 1 year? Can we expect that?
I like pressure. I'm not gonna lie. I really like it. I don't bet against myself. So I think at the same time, we know what can happen, what, you know, whatever, but at the same time, I'm not going there to lose. And I don't think any WNBA team is lining up this offseason like, well, we're not really playing for anything. Like, everybody, you're a competitor playing for something. And I'm just that. I'm a competitor, and I'm looking to win. And, you know, we don't play for, what is it? If you ain't first, you last. Like, we're not playing for third, fourth place. Like,
well, hopefully, everything goes great in Chicago, and next year we can revisit this whole conversation, and you can have that ring.
There we go. Well, speaking of competition, the guys are up. Our next segment is going to be some NBA trivia. I don't know if you can stick around for that or if you have to go, but if you can join in, we've got like 5 questions.
This is everybody, right? Everybody's got to answer?
Yep, I'm asking. So you guys got to answer. All right. Well, and just to be clear, because Oak missed our last time, we did some OG Olympics. So we had like the guys be like, who could run the fastest, bench press the most? Well, you know, Earl and Muggs kind of spoke for Oak since he wasn't here. So we're going to stick to trivia today, and we'll see who comes out on top. So, all right, first question. What is more likely, Tom Brady appearing in a Super Bowl or Steph Curry making a three-pointer?
Ooh.
Steph
Curry making a three.
I go with Steph making a 3.
Yeah, Steph Curry is the best shooter of all time.
Yeah.
Well, if we're going with stats and numbers, technically Tom Brady appearing in a Super Bowl is more likely than Steph knocking down a 3.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like 4 or 5%, but technically the odds are in Brady's favor.
Hey, he lost 3. Trump must be doing the count.
What's the percentage, Ash? What's the percentage?
According to my notes, Brady is more likely to win. His odds of winning a Super Bowl, 47.6%. Curry knocking down a three is at 43.4%.
Wow, he was close.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he won 7 out of 10 and 7 out of 13. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Really?
I didn't know
what was
that.
game.
I was just like, is it more like now I know the rules. All right.
Analytics.
I would have went with Steph too, right? Like
Yeah.
it just seems way more realistic. All right. In the NBA, who is the all-time leader in career blocks?
Nate Thurman.
Hakeem Olajuwon.
Nate Thurman.
That's before your time, Candace.
Will
You said Nate Thurman. It's got to be Hakeem Olajuwon, right? Yeah.
No, Bill Russell, Nate Thurman.
Yeah, I was
it's gonna be
thinking Bill
King.
Russell.
Probably King. This came the dream.
Bill Russell, probably. That's all he did was
Now,
block stuff.
Hakeem would be correct. He has 3,830.
That's my teammate, though.
I thought Bill Russell had 11 rings. What did he do?
That's all
I know.
What did Bill Russell do? He got 11 rings. He didn't lead scoring. Didn't lead blocks. Didn't lead shoot. Why did he get 11 rings? He had
Right place, right time. All right. What country was Steve Nash born in?
Ooh, I would just watch the
Canada.
documentary.
Canada.
No, he's born overseas.
Yeah. It's in Africa somewhere.
It's South Africa, yeah.
Oh, no, I know Canada. Well, you moved to Canada then.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was raised. Yep, he was raised in Canada.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, I knew it was some part of it. Which one is it?
What is Ash?
Earl's on point today. It's South Africa.
He's overseas.
Earl.
Okay.
It's in Africa.
All right. Got two more. Who was the first international player to be drafted with the first pick?
Oh, man. That's the easy one there. I'm going to let somebody else have that one.
Okay.
I mean,
No, it's like Dikembe, right? Dikembe.
Now, you guys got to go back. I
Way
tell you what.
back
It's,
further
It
now?
would be 1978.
yeah.
First pick.
Yeah, I'm a triple OG, so you got to go back to my time.
Go give us like a hint. What year?
Did he play
He
for
has
Portland?
a son that's in the NBA right now.
Yeah, it was in the
He played for
It was
Portland.
19
it was in the 70s. Yep, in the 70s.
Sabonis?
No,
No.
in the 70s. He's a Laker. He was a Laker. He was a Laker. Come on.
Technically, his other son played baseball.
Oh, you know who it is?
Son
Oh,
played
Bahamas, the
baseball.
Bahamas guy.
He's a
Oh,
Laker.
man.
A Bahamas guy.
Not Fox.
His son's currently not playing, but he's won a few
That's like you
championships.
said son in
It's
NBA.
same.
That's why I was like,
Who?
Michael Thompson.
Yeah,
Can't throw
Michael
too-
Thompson
You
You throw
plays
too
that.
many hits out there.
I didn't even know Michael Thompson was not from the United States.
Yeah.
Nassau.
No.
Huh.
Nassau. He's from Nassau.
Yeah.
I should have known that.
Him, Rick Fox from over there too, isn't he?
Right.
Fox
Yeah.
too. Yeah, I was close. I had a light skin. I ain't got a right light skin. I do.
All right. Final question. Who was the first NBA player to record 10 steals in a single game?
Alvin Robinson, probably. No, I guess not.
Muggs, you didn't get 10 steals?
I
Like,
ain't
really?
get 10. I ain't get 10.
The
I ain't
first.
get 10.
First NBA player to do it.
Who? Oh,
Who was the
I was
first
thinking,
person?
I
Who would
was
be the
thinking Alvin
first?
Robinson. I don't know.
Dang, I'm thinking about that myself.
Draymond Green. No.
No, Draymond can't get 10 points no more.
Oh,
Damn, I'm at a loss there, Ash. I'm really at a loss.
like Muggsy?
Mm-mm.
Damn. Hey,
Okay, you want a big hint? Think NBA logo.
Jerry West.
Oh,
Jerry
Jerry
West.
West.
Oh man, I would never thought of Jerry West. Oh my
No.
goodness.
Nah,
It
that-
must be just
First player to record 10. So taking it
a
back.
what they consider
Wow.
a steal.
Hey, look, I just read the questions. I didn't analyze and watch tape. So
What was the criteria of steals back then? That's what I need to know. God.
Yeah, like assists too. Assists, like now you dribble, you get assists. Back then you almost had to walk into the basket to get assists.
Seriously, and
Crazy.
a direct
You
basket.
get
It had to be
5 dribbles
catching.
now.
It was catch and shoot. You had to catch it. You know, as soon as you catch it, you had to let it go. That was
Now
considered.
it's like you throw it in the post, they make a crab dribble and come back, and that's an assist. And I'm like,
Right.
Wow.
WNBA.
Yeah. Well, Candace, I saw you show against you and KG and Area 21, and that was not a travel. That was not a travel. Yeah, that wasn't a travel. You had your pivot foot down.
I have everybody pulling up all the clips. So our video guy at Turner is actually pulling up all the clips of him making that move. Because KG did that move in Boston like a number of times. So I have them pulling up all the clips, but you didn't get called for travel, and you actually.
He traveled every time, KD. He Michael Jordan started to travel. And James Harden started, he just like trail away. He just walked every time. He's stepping back. Oh, man.
Yeah. But right now, I guess the games, you get 2 step backs, huh? You get a step back and a step.
Step to the side, step back, step to the side.
Mark, you know who else doing it? Jason Taylor doing it now a lot.
Actually, said who started it. I think Robert Parrish.
Robert Parrish.
Yeah, I think he used to shuffle.
But he was 7'1". He was like, when you that tall, you gotta get away with something. These guys these guys were unique and sexy guys. Like MJ, I just tell them all the time, MJ, you the greatest player. You get 3 steps. How can you lose? How you you get
Larry Bird had a step back too, so he had a nice step back.
He was step with both. Larry Bird was slow anyway, so. But
you know what? I did want to ask you one last thing I didn't get in, Candace. How did you feel about when Kyrie stepped up and took care of the players, the WNBA players who did not go to the bubble?
I think there's a lot of NBA players that are doing good and trying to do their part to make sure that not just professional athletes, but just in general. Kyrie obviously stepping up and doing that, but then also you think about Giannis, you think about Kevin Love taking care of the workers from the arenas because of COVID. So I think just in general, the NBA and the players are really doing a good job of trying to make sure that they're taking care of people that need it. And, I think it's a step in the right direction. I think the biggest thing for us now is we're getting on a lot of calls with the NBPA. Like the WNBPA and the NBA PA are doing a good job of getting on calls together, figuring out collectively how we can go about, helping our communities. And so I think that's been the biggest thing.
That's awesome.
Well,
I appreciate you. Well, for me, I just appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule, to come on and hang out with us.
I appreciate you all.
I just say continue to keep doing what you're doing, especially the way you stepped up with the Black Lives Matter and putting your players together and working with them each and every day. You're doing a great job. I love watching you in the broadcast, and I'll look forward to you being in Chicago next year. It was a pleasure being on here with you.
I appreciate
Same thing Muggs and Earl said, in the studio with them guys. But the most important thing, get that chip next year in Chicago. if they don't get it when you're there, it's going to be a long time for the Bulls to do anything. They ain't got a chance.
We betting she carry him to a championship, then we put it on the spot. She's going to do it next year.
And we're speaking it into existence. We're already putting it out to the universe. So there we go.
Well, thank you so much, you all. I obviously watched you guys a ton on the court. And so to be on this, I have to go tell my dad I was on y'all's podcast. He's going to be hyped. But thank you all, and thanks for having me. And I hope we cross paths once all this craziness is over. I hope you guys can come to a game.
I will.
Definitely will.
We'll definitely be there for sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to be our show, right? So, Candace, thanks again for joining us. And I just want to encourage all of our listeners. I got to read it right here. Like, submit, review, follow us on Twitter, 3 League OGs Pod, Instagram, 3 League OGs. And of course, use the hashtag 3LeagueOGs to submit your fan questions and comments. We want all of it.